The Jazz Image here with Limelight for a new release entitled Duo, Peter Schimke and Irv Williams, tenor saxophone, piano. At the moment, I've found Peter Schimke right over there. It's good to renew with you. Welcome into Minnesota Public Radio. You know, just to sketch out for some of our listeners who haven't had a chance to sit in with you in the various groups, from name groups to unidentified new groups, a slice of your career. How old were you when you started out?
Well, I started playing keyboards, piano specifically, when I was about 8 years of age. And in our neighborhood, and at that time, there were quite a lot of boogie-woogie and blues enthusiasts, including my older brother. So from an early age, I was having a good time playing the blues and early rock and roll stuff, and at the same time studying, Mozart and Bach and all of the important, early piano sources that you tackle when you're a young kid taking piano lessons. So
it sounds like a good discipline and a guide for you for the future.
Oh, it was great. I had a wonderful teacher as a kid.
Who was that?
James D. Johnson was the most important teacher as a young person, who eventually became a professor of music over at Augsburg College. And he had a great sense of humor, and he was just so nurturing. And I'm sure there are dozens, if not hundreds, of people out there who can testify to this, that this guy was just fantastic. So. Good friend, important, early motivator, and yeah.
There's nothing like a empathetic mentor, teacher, coach. There's nothing to compare with that.
Oh, it makes all the difference. I just really was inspired by his whole attitude as a teacher. So anyway, so that started out, and then I played drums early on in my late teens. The first group was the New Psychonauts. That was really a lot of fun. And I played, 7th Street Entry and all these clubs around town with these guys, and I think we got our first break warming up for the Suburbs back in the early 80s, so that was a lot of fun. So then went on from there, and then got more serious about the keyboard, because I felt like I didn't know as much about harmony and things that I wanted to put into the songwriting field. So jazz, I'd been so interested in playing and performing jazz. My dad's an architect, but he, we always had a drum set sitting in the living room, so he'd always come in and stir some soup when I was working on my standards and stuff. So eventually, I just got more serious about playing jazz music and went on from there. So,
You have a current project that is just about in release, and there is a revealing scale to this. It's a duo. And usually you're in larger groups, of course. That partner of yours in this project.
Oh, him.
Yes, him.
Irv Williams. Just an unbelievable gem living among us. He's been here, and somewhat of a secret globally. And he really, talk about someone deserving wider recognition. Jeez, he's just a fantastic person and an amazing musician, lyrical musician, as well as just entirely open harmonically and just a total master of his vocabulary. And I just can't say enough great things about Irv,
And it's incredulous. There are 9 tracks there. Do you mean to say you did all of them in one take, Peter?
Yes, absolutely. But when I say that now, bear in mind that we might come in one day and try a piece, and then we might try it again and decide that, well, let's try it again next week. Let's walk in and see if we can hit it. And that's what I mean. But there were a few that were entirely first takes, in the sense that I don't think we had ever played the song together before. But generally speaking, for that particular recording session, everything was a first takes, at hand. So that's absolutely what happened.
And when I look at these titles, I know there are original concepts that you're both responsible for, and then there are the standards, ranging from something as unidentified with jazz except on one occasion or another, Tumbling Tumbleweeds, all the way to Rodgers and Hart with My Funny Valentine, and a title that is credited with the composer Peter Schimke, that's you, Not Stew. Is that a recipe?
That was actually written a couple years ago for a choreographer, dancer friend, Stephen Roof. We call him Yogi, and an old dear friend of mine, and he commissioned me to write this little sketch, and I didn't, I did it for the concert and then didn't think anything of it, put it aside, and then when we were working on this record, I pulled it out, and it looked like a good idea to use as a vehicle, so, yeah.
And then there's the Irv Williams composition, Betsy's Song. That is a tender piece.
Yeah, it's a beautiful melody. It plays like a standard dedicated to one of his fabulous daughters. And that really felt great. That was that a first take. So, yeah.
Peter Schimke, thanks very much for staying with us through the night.
Thank you so much. It's always such an honor and pleasure to talk to you, Leigh.
Well, pleasure to renew with you. And
great. Have a great night.